Gallant by Warren Crimes. It is unwise to push a man to violence when violence is what he has dedicated his life to perfecting. Prologue. A line in the snow marked his uneven gait, the great sword dragging through frost and dirt, like the man who bore it. Ice clung to his battered armor, once a proud symbol of a soldier, now a relic of neglect, like a ship adrift without its captain. The peak loomed not far ahead. His son used to point to it, eyes wide with wonder, begging to climb it and see the world from above. But that world was gone. What waited at the summit now was an ending. Shame weighed heavier on his shoulders with each passing day. In the powdered stones scattered along the mountainside, he traced the faces of those he'd lost. His wife, his son, his daughter, taken by cowards under the cloak of night, his village razed to ash. How long had it been? He'd watched winter turn to spring, spring to summer, summer to fall. Now snow has returned, but not even this mountain's frozen silence could bury his grief. He had scoured the land from peak to valley, chasing ghosts and whispers, his hopes thinning like mist. Month after month his heart waged war with his mind. Reason told him the odds were near zero. They were likely gone, devoured by the same darkness that thrives in cruel men's souls. But his heart refused to let go. It clung to memories, lifting his daughter high with laughter, guiding his son's hands around sword and bow, holding his wife close beneath twilight skies. Though his bones ached and his muscles screamed, the iron-cladded warrior endured the climb. The pain his soul felt suffocated the pleading of his body. The wind pushed against him as he surmounted the ridgeline. It was as if the gusts were begging him to stop, to not finish his climb, to turn around. He could feel his boy, brave and courageous, tugging on his arm to pull him back. His sweet, innocent little girl crying as she latched on to her father's leg to weigh him down. The pushing of his wife's gentle hands on his chest, telling him to keep on living, but without her. Without them he was weak. They were his strength. He pressed on, his teeth clenched, his breath a cloud drifting away against the gales. He remembered the warmth of his hearth and the warmth of his family. The children playing with their handcrafted toys as the light danced on their smiling faces. His wife, with her head nuzzled into the crook of his neck. Even now, as he inhaled the cold air of the mountain, he could smell the lavender on her. It was her favorite. His farm had been replaced with rubble and ash, and their light had been nothing but a fading memory. The tears would have froze to his cheeks if the exertion hadn't fought of the cold. He had stumbled more than a few times. The armor and sword, once symbols of his strength, had become burdens. The peak wasn't far now, and with his free hand he had begun to unclasp his armor, letting his gauntlets and pauldrons fall into the deep drifts. His breastplate rolling off the steep side into the fog covered nothingness below him. His frozen greaves creaked and clanked as he pushed through the knee-deep snow. His legs were past numb as the cold metal sapped the heat from his lower extremities, and the only fuel they had to go on was the will to go just a little further. A few more steps that would be his last. The jagged peak of ancient stone had been void of snow. The foreboding winds had swept it clean and smooth with the passage of time. Many warriors had made the pilgrimage to this hallowed ground. When they grew ripe with age and did not wish to burden their families with the difficulties that time bestowed on them, they would use their reserves to summit this holy mountain and make the most noble sacrifice. He saw the stone statue of the maiden that guided the warriors home. She had always been carved with a smile and tear-filled eyes. It was a sad and joyous moment for the souls and their shepherd. She would look upon them as they looked over the edge to their final resting place. The soldier had made this climb with his father 4 years ago and planned to make the same climb with his son, though this lonely voyage would not end with the poor man kissing the maiden's feet. He did not deserve to be ferried to the halls of eternity. His soul, his story, would not echo through the realm. Instead, he walked off, away from the statue to the other side of the peak overlooking his home. Miles away, through the rays of the new morning sun, he could see the patch of dirt that once held his farm. From here, he could see his son jumping up and down by the stables, pointing at the mountain, talking about all the old heroes that stepped from the cliff. He could see his daughter using her stuffed bear as a puppet head up to the mountain, pretending the massive creature had ruled the mighty range. He could hear his wife softly singing on the wind about the warriors returning across this spine. He fell to his knees as he removed the helmet. His face was flushed with exhaustion and depression as the morning greeted his pale face. He laid his father's sword across his lap and looked down at it. Even with the abuse it had endured, it held its edge. He had hoped that it would be passed on to his son and grandson. Instead, the wonderfully crafted blade would end his bloodline this morning. He braced the hilt in front of him, holding on to the blade with his bare hands. He felt a tug at his arms, a sweet, soft touch of his daughter, a pull at the blade. His son would not want his father and hero to fall on it. His face felt the warm embrace of supple hands and the familiar sensation of love on his lips as he recalled his wife kissing him one last time. The tip of the blade pressed to the exposed chest, and with a final breath, his weight fell onto the sword, its razored edge pushing through his heart and out of his back. For a moment he just sat there kneeling, propped up by the sword as his body tried to pull in precious breath with a ghostly wheeze. Then the mighty warrior collapsed over the edge, taking the plunge to end his pain. He had hoped that the blade to the heart would kill him instantly, but sadly he felt every rock and shelf he barreled into. The death had been less graceful than he had wished as bones snapped against stone. But soon, the hike that had taken days to complete was over in just a few seconds. His back finally connected with an erect moss-covered stone, and his body draped over it like a veil of flesh. Though it was unintended, the noble sacrifice had been accepted as blood flowed down the carved rock, filling the intricate markings of a language long forgotten.